Hi, my name is Scott, and I have read all of the Harry Potter books multiple times. I've seen all of the movies, and like most of my peers, I continue to be a Harry Potter enthusiast to this day.
And I'm Becki, and I have never read a Harry Potter book or seen any of the films, which makes me the ultimate Muggle.
Join us as we make our way through each book, section by section, where Becki will make predictions about what she thinks will happen next.
And Scott will try to convince me why it's a good series, worth reading, and maybe even worth loving.
Hi everyone, welcome to A Muggle's Guide to Hogwarts, where we are exploring the Harry Potter series with the ultimate Muggle.
It's me.
It's her. She has never read a Harry Potter book, never seen a Harry Potter movie, and never ever planned on doing so until I politely asked her to do it with me so we could see if she liked it. And when I say she's never read a Harry Potter book, I lied because she has read a Harry Potter book.
I've read one whole Harry Potter book.
One whole Harry Potter has been read.
1.2, maybe.
We're just started. We just started Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, so we're 1.2% of, not percent, 1.2 books of the way
not
through.
Not how percentages work.
1.2 books of the way through the Harry Potter series. Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. I'm still really uncomfortable that Dobby exists. And he wasn't even in the chapters that we read.
Nope.
I've just been thinking about him a lot.
Okay.
Is there going to be like resolution with Dobby? Like, are we going to learn why he hurts himself and why he is the way he is and why he's wearing a dirty pillowcase? Like, are those questions going to be answered?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't know. I just can't stop thinking about him.
In a good way or
No,
a bad way?
in a bad way.
Okay. Dobby is a really prominent character.
Uh-huh.
He comes back a lot throughout the entire series. He's an important character, so we learn a lot about him. And
Okay.
I'm not going to give anything away at all.
Okay.
But yeah, those questions get answered for sure.
Okay, I'll try to move past it.
And
for
it
now.
is funny how Dobby wasn't in these 3 chapters that we just read.
I know, but I'm just
But you're
been
still
thinking
thinking
about
about
it. And I don't know. I just like get a little uncomfortable when I think about this book because of his presence in it.
I get it.
But we didn't read about him. Let's talk about what we did read about.
Yes. Okay, so we just read chapters 4, 5, and 6
Yes.
of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Last episode, Becki made her predictions with what she thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think my predictions have ever been more wrong.
Yeah, they were really wrong.
They were very, very.
But that's okay. So from doing this process through the first book and now a little bit through the second book, I realized that these books are kind of hard to predict, especially at the beginning, because there's no foundation for a while. Like he's at the Dursleys for a while, and then in this book he was at the Burrow for a while before really anything happens. And it's really hard to tell what the plot is in like the first 6 chapters of this book. It really hasn't picked up yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're also doing a lot more like recapping the first book than I thought they would.
Yeah.
Like, I get why you kind of have to do that a little bit in like movies, because some people see standalone movies, but I just don't feel like it's that often that someone would pick up, the second or third or whatever book in a series. Does that seem a little weird to you?
It does, but I think that's something that J.K. Rowling did for basically all of the books, is she wrote kind of an intro, like the first couple of chapters or whatever are written that contain a lot of information to kind of ground the reader so they understand what's going on. Like, I know, for example, like at the beginning of this book, they went back and explained like Harry's a wizard. This like his parents died. He has this scar. Like those are some basic facts that she needs to reestablish every time.
Right.
And I think for the most part, I could be wrong, but I think for the most part, she kind of does that in every single book. Like she sets the stage in every single book with those basic facts.
So do you think it's more for people who are, picking up a book not at the
Yeah.
beginning of the series? Or do you think it's like, because did the books come out like once a year whenever they were coming out?
Ooh, no. It's a good question.
Or is it more of like a refresher for people who've read it, but it's been a year,
They definitely didn't come out like a year, like 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. There were some times where there was like 2 years, 3 years in between.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, this is the reasoning for it. I think that this is the beginning of the series, and she didn't know if it would take off. She didn't know how popular it would be, and so she felt like she needed to include these in case people were picking up this book for the first time and reading this book and not necessarily the earlier book in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she kind of fell into the habit of it. I don't really think it's because you guys, read this book like 3 years ago and now this is the second one, so refamiliarize yourself with it. I think it's more just she's trying to make this approachable and accessible by anyone that just kind of wants to jump into it.
Yeah.
But then, it gets more complicated and pieces start coming together, and you kind of have to read all of the books to really understand what's happening towards the end of the series.
So I think she should have had them come out like on Harry's birthday every year. Wouldn't that have been cool? Like every July, what is it? 31st? 13th? 29th?
I think it was Halloween, right?
No, it's in
No,
July.
July 12th? 31st? Why did I say Halloween?
I don't know.
That's funny. No, I think it is July 31st. I think you're right.
It's end of July in my memory.
Yeah.
It was one of the questions last time. I don't remember. But
I think
that
you're
would have
right.
been cool if it came out on his birthday every year, because then like it's starting in the summer. At least this book kind of like started in the summer and you got to see the start of the school year again.
Yeah.
I feel like they really missed an opportunity there.
Well, every book starts, at the beginning of summer because it's at the end of the previous school year. So every book, every book is a year at Hogwarts.
Does every book skip the spring semester like the first one did?
Well, you'll just have to see.
They're like, we're back. All this stuff is happening. And now we're done.
Yeah. Every book is a year, and then it picks up sometime in the summer with Harry. The reason she didn't release them year after year is because she hadn't written them. I mean, she she didn't prep in advance and write all 7 books in a row. Like I said, there were a couple of times where there were several years in between books because she was writing it and trying to figure out the story as she was going.
Yeah, that's fair. In other news, related but unrelated, before we get into the chapters, I wanted to talk about this other book that I'm reading and how it relates to Harry Potter, because this has been interesting. Like, as we've been going through this, I've just kind of mentioned I get some more references. Maybe we'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that's like that thing in Harry Potter. But I'm reading this book right now called Dear Edward. And I don't think this is giving anything away. Like, this is literally what the book is about. It's about this boy named Edward who's the sole survivor of a plane crash. And in the book, his friend keeps on being like, you're just like Harry Potter. Like, your parents were killed. You survived. He has this scar on his shin from the plane crash. She's like, oh, it's going to start burning when important things are happening. And like, it just kind of keeps on coming up. Like, it's their first day of school. So people are like, there's like paparazzi and stuff. And she's like, just pretend like you're at the Great Hall. And I'm like, I get it. It's cool.
Wait, so you're understanding this book better because you know Harry Potter?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I think he's 12 when the plane crash happens, but like,
wow.
There's just like all these like subtle parallels. She's like, I bet you have magic powers. And like, it's just like a kind of subtle through line that his story is like kind of like Harry Potter's. And I don't know that I would grasp as much of it if I hadn't read Harry Potter.
Man, you would have no idea. You would not appreciate that book as much.
I don't think so.
I bet you wouldn't like the book because it referenced Harry Potter so much.
I mean, I don't know. I probably would have rolled my eyes a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. It
Yeah.
also is weird to me to think of like this is a story of fiction, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
I guess it's just weird to me to realize that other books and other forms of media now reference Harry Potter in that way. I mean, Harry Potter has been out for a really long time now, but it's still kind of weird to be like a book, a fictional book is referencing Harry Potter in its story.
Right. I mean, the book takes place in 2013 and they're kids, they're preteens. So, I mean, I think it's supposed to be a realistic world, right? And in a realistic world, like kids might talk about Harry Potter and they're even like reading it together at night out loud in the book or whatever, which is funny because that's what we do. And yeah, there are just a lot of like really small, like there are references out in the world that are kind of like here or there or whatever, but this is like kind of like a big part of my understanding of this book. So that was cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Also, can I just say one thing that's unrelated to what we were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
So Becki and I, sometimes we read the chapters together. And because we both want to refamiliarize ourselves with them, well, she needs to read them. I want to refamiliarize myself with them. So sometimes we'll read the chapters together. And Becki noticed that we're reading my copy of Chamber of Secrets. And Becki noticed that in the front cover, there's a little note from my sister.
Yeah.
That it was like, happy 9th birthday.
Yeah.
So I got this book for my 9th birthday from my sister.
That's cool.
That was that was sweet. I'd forgotten about that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Harry Potter, bringing people together.
Yeah, it's fun. And I've been meaning to. I'll just say now that I'll post it when this episode comes out. If you want to see Scott's Mrs. McGonagall voice that he reads.
Did you record me reading?
I did.
Oh, goodness.
I have a little BTS of our reading happening, and I'll post that on our Instagram whenever this episode comes out. It's good. I like it.
Cool.
Okay. Should we talk about what we read?
On to the chapters.
Yeah.
We read chapters 4, 5, and 6 this week. Chapter 4 is called At Flourish and Blots. Chapter 5 is called The Whomping Willow. And chapter 6 is called Gilderoy Lockhart. So we'll just go through them and chit-chat about what we thought about them.
Yeah.
So chapter 4, At Flourish and Blots, takes place when the Weasley family and Harry Potter go to Diagon Alley. Yes. And they buy their school supplies. And then there's like a prominent scene at Flourish and Blots, which is the bookstore there, where they meet Gilderoy Lockhart for the first time, who is like talked about a lot up until this chapter. And then they have a run-in with Lucius Malfoy and Draco Malfoy.
Yes.
That's what this chapter is about. But at the beginning of this chapter, Harry uses flu powder for the first time.
Yeah. What's that all about?
So there's like a bunch of different ways to travel as a wizard, right? So you can walk places, you can fly places on a broom, and then some other forms of rapid travel are this flu powder, which is like a powder that you throw into a fire and it turns the fire green, and then you can step in and you say your destination and it takes you there through like this magical network of fireplaces.
Wormholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what they use. And then there's other ones. There's like apparition, which you don't really know too much about. They mentioned it in this book.
Yeah, that the parents can just basically teleport.
Yeah, it's basically teleporting.
Okay.
And then Dobby gets around by a form of apparition too, because he like kind of pops into the
I didn't know
Harry's
that.
bedroom. Yeah, they don't really explain it at that point.
I thought he was just hiding out.
Yeah.
I thought he'd run away.
And then there's other forms of travel that we'll learn about as the series goes on. But for the most part, like adult wizards will apparate around, and then they use like flu powder too to help.
Yeah, well, it didn't really help Harry. He ended up in a dark place.
Yeah, what was it called? Where did he go?
He went to Nocturnally.
Nocturnally.
Nocturnally. He went to Nocturnally.
Yeah. So he went nocturnal,
Yes.
but he ended up in a like mysterious dark wizard pawn shop kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. It seemed like it was like a shady alley off of Diagon Alley, right?
Yeah, it wasn't, so it was a shop. It's called Bergen and Burks. Borgen and Burks.
That wasn't the whole place. There were other places in Nocturne Alley.
Nocturne
but
Alley.
He ended up in, Borgen and
Burks.
Yes, which was not a law firm.
Not a law firm. It was a good guess,
predicted.
though. Honestly, it sounds like a law firm. It was a good guess. Becki thought it was a law firm.
I did.
No, it's like some strange kind of dark magic shop. And Lucius and Draco Malfoy go in there to get rid of some of the dark magic objects.
Oh, yeah, because they hear that Ron's place of work, the Ministry of Magic, is like cracking down on stuff.
Yeah. They're like doing raids on different houses. And so Lucius wanted to get rid of some things that might be illegal, I guess. And so he went to Borgen and Burks to sell them.
Okay.
And so Harry witnessed that.
Right.
Because he was hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he ended up in this shop in Nocturne Alley, which sounds like nocturnally.
Yes.
And kind of witnessed this exchange between Lucius and Borgen, I think, who owns it.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird. And then he was like wandering around and things are like a little off and a little creepy. And then Hagrid just shows up, which just like, I just feel like Hagrid is maybe involved in some sketchy stuff.
Because he was in Nocturne Alley.
Just other like subtle clues too. You know, like him gambling for dragon's eggs and like just a couple little subtle things that are like, we love Hagrid. Like I do. I love Hagrid. But I just think there's like a little more than meets the eye.
Yeah. So you think it's more than just like him kind of being a little bumbling and a little kind of idiotic at times. You think it's more than that?
I think so. Like, I don't think he has like bad intentions, but I think maybe he's like involved, whether he wants to be or not. He somehow got like wrapped up in something that's like of the darker side that he's trying to keep from like Dumbledore and everything else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He shows up, and I think his excuse was like he was in Nocturne Alley, and I think he said he was shopping for some bug repellent or slug repellent because they were eating the cabbages at school. That's what he told Harry.
Okay.
But he basically shows up and like rescues Harry and escorts him out of Nocturne Alley.
Yeah.
And then they reunite with the Weasleys, who are like running around looking for him.
Were they? I kind of felt like they were just like, oh, hey, there you are.
Yeah, it's kind of what happened in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like they were just like, he'll figure it out.
Mrs. Weasley was so concerned.
Oh, yeah, she's always concerned. Are the Weasleys going to be okay? I'm worried about them.
You mean overall?
Yeah.
Like in the entire story?
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you that.
Okay. I'm just worried about them, like when Harry was like, the saddest thing I ever saw was their bank vault because they had like 3 dimes and a corn on the cob. I don't know.
Well, this is an interesting thing. So they like, J.K. Rowling paints the Weasley family as very poor. And Harry's super rich.
Yes.
So why doesn't Harry just give them some money?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering.
Like Harry has so much money.
Right.
Why didn't they just give him some money?
I don't know. But like, so money is different in Muggle world than regular world. I mean, than magic world, right?
Well, it's a different type of currency.
Different type of currency. So Harry has magic money, right?
Yes.
The Weasleys live in regular world, right?
Yeah, so the Weasleys live kind of like, I think, on the outskirts of a more Muggle village, but the Weasleys live there. And then there are other kind of magic families scattered around. There's only one completely wizard village. And you'll learn about that in the next book.
Okay.
But for the most part, wizards are kind of scattered around, kind of mixed in with Muggles, I believe so.
I'm just wondering if Harry did give them his magic money, would it be useful to them? Like, can they just exchange it and get whatever?
Well, they don't need Muggle money.
They don't?
No. So the Weasleys everything that they would need to purchase, they would purchase with wizard money.
What about like groceries?
I think they would use wizard money. I don't know. It's never explored. That's never explored. They also grow a lot of their own food.
Yeah,
but
I know they have their gardens or whatever.
That concept is never, ever explored.
I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought they needed Muggle money to like live, and that like they were fine with magic money.
I've never considered that.
And
I'm not really sure. Actually, reading it this time was the first time I ever picked up on Hermione's parents exchanging money. They were in Gringotts exchanging money.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember that at all. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time that's ever mentioned.
Okay. I did remember.
This is one of those things where don't think too hard about it comes into play.
Okay. But yeah, so they're in Diagon Alley. They're getting all their school supplies, and they go to the bookshop, and we meet this Gilderoy Lockhart. Can I tell you who I picture him as?
Yeah.
In my head? That guy from, we just watched the show Our Flag Means Death. That New Zealand guy, the Kiwi guy. Yeah. That's who I picture. Like blonde, kind of curly hair, fancy dressed, maybe an accent. But that's what I picture him.
Super proper.
Very proper. Yeah. Yes.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good? Okay.
Yeah. I forget the name of that actor. I always know him as Murray from Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords.
No, that's a pretty good image in your head. You should keep that.
Is his name Nigel, or is that in?
No,
is that in the show?
That's from Jungle Book.
It is
Jumanji. From Jumanji.
That's
Isn't
right.
His name named Nigel in Jumanji?
It is. Yeah. His name is Nigel in Jumanji. Is it Rhys Darby?
Yes.
Rhys Darby.
Yeah. Rhys Darby.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a good image. If you guys haven't seen that show, go watch that show. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
our flag means death.
Good time.
So yeah, tell me about your thoughts on Gilderoy Lockhart so far. And you can tell me overall.
Okay, I was going to say,
he was in this chapter, and then he was in later.
He was in the end. Yeah, like I said, I have like a very specific image in my head that he's like always like cloaked in a halo of golden light, and all of the women really like him, even like the young women like Hermione, and even like other teachers and stuff. But I think it's hilarious that he has all these books he's written, and he, clearly thinks very highly of himself, and he's given a quiz about all his favorite things. But when push comes to shove, like in the very last chapter we read, he actually doesn't know his stuff at all, and has like no basis for any of this. And I think that's really funny.
He's a pretty good over-the-top character.
Yes.
Who paints himself as like super competent and like an amazing wizard, but maybe isn't as amazing as we think he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets super excited that Harry shows up. They take some pictures for the paper, and then they go on their way.
Yeah.
And that's the first chapter. The second chapter that we read, chapter 5, is called The Whomping Willow.
Oh, yeah. They missed their train. So what happened? Why couldn't they get onto the platform?
You're going to learn about why they couldn't go down to the platform later in the book.
I found it weird that they didn't at least like try again. I guess they were saying like everybody was looking at them now.
I think they did try. So from reading it again, they run into the barrier.
They run at the same time. And I was like, well, did that mess it up?
They run into the barrier. And then they're like, I feel like Harry is standing there trying to like kind of push subtly back to get through the barrier. But it's just closed. They can't get in. And so thinking like, I don't know, 13-year-old, 12-year-old kids, they decide to steal a flying car and fly it to Hogwarts instead of literally just being like, we could probably wait here. And, the car's here. So the Weasley parents are probably going to come out and like literally anything else.
Anything else. Yeah. Instead, they were just like, steal a car, fly it to Hogwarts, follow the train somehow.
Yeah.
While staying above the clouds.
Yeah. They would dip down. They'd like fly above the clouds, then it'd dip down. And somehow they literally never lost the train.
Never lost the train. That's
Yeah.
impressive. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they ran into a big old tree.
They ran into a big old tree called the Whomping Willow.
Yeah. That tree was violent.
Yeah. It whomped.
It sure did.
It whomped a lot. And then the car spit them out and drove away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
It like just took control over itself.
I'm done with you.
And drove away and abandoned them there.
Yeah, this Whomping Willow. I mean, do you remember isn't this kind of like the Wizard of Oz? Don't the trees kind of like start like slapping them or something?
Yeah.
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 Do you think that's what it's from? Like, is that the inspiration?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of stories that have sentient trees.
Yeah, but violent ones? Like in
know.
Lord of the Rings, they're like sentient, but they're not aggressive.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's a pretty common trope for fantasy kind of novels. Is magic trees that move, but I don't know. They just drove a car into it.
Yeah,
so
I think it has
mad.
the right.
It's pretty mad.
Yeah.
I
mean, I get it. So they kind of do that, and then they're just kind of like, okay. Then they're like, go to Hogwarts, and they walk in on the first years being sorted, right?
Well, they get in super trouble. They don't walk in. They like look at it from outside the window, and then Snape finds them and then takes them down to the dungeon, and then McGonagall comes, and then Dumbledore comes.
There's a dungeon?
Oh my goodness.
Why do they have a dungeon at a children's school?
That's where Snape's office is, down in the dungeon.
Why do they have a dungeon at a children's school?
That's where the potions class is.
Okay.
His office is down in the dungeons.
Like specifically a dungeon, not just a basement, like they call it a dungeon?
They call it the dungeons, yeah.
The dungeons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so Snape takes them down there, yells at them for being seen because there was a report, like a
bunch of people saw them.
Yeah. And then McGonagall comes, and then Dumbledore comes, and Snape is really excited because he thinks they're going to get expelled, which he wants for some reason. And then Dumbledore's like, I'm not expelling you. I'm just going to make McGonagall give you a punishment. And then McGonagall's like, here's my punishment for stealing a car, being seen by Muggles, and flying it into a tree on campus. 1 detention.
Yes, that's fair. I feel like the professor's reactions are like totally unbalanced for the crime. They're always just like, you did this terrible thing, 1 detention. You did this minor thing, 500 points from Gryffindor.
Yeah. You guys were out of bed at night. Yeah. Go to the Forbidden Forest.
Go put your lives in danger.
That's true with points too. So in the first book, they're very stingy with points at the beginning where they're like, -1 point, plus 5 points. And already in this book, they're like, 10 points, whatever. I don't care.
And it's for stuff like getting a question right in class. I thought it was more for like outside of learning, like moral good things or bad things, like not just like...
it's whatever.
It's just whatever.
It's just whatever.
It's the Wild West. There are no rules.
Yeah, whatever. 10 points. Miss Hermione Granger, you get 2 questions right, 20 points. I don't care. Point system's messed up anyway. It doesn't matter. 20 points.
It's just like, whose line is it anyway? But for Hogwarts.
Because she, like, literally in that class, it was herbology class. So in this chapter, they, or maybe it's in the next chapter, they go to herbology class, which is important because we meet Professor Sprout. But also, Hermione answers 2 questions right, gets 10 points apiece. And that's 20 points. And do you remember in the first book when they were so upset that they lost 50 points?
Yes.
They're like 50 points each.
They're like, we're doomed.
I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny how it gets a little out of hand. Yeah, also Professor Sprout, like, man, these names, she's just really not losing any sleep over naming things, is she?
What does this professor do? She's greenhouses? I can call her Sprout. I don't give a shit. Call her Sprout. That's a plant. That's plant-like. That just happens so much in the books. I think that was pretty much it for the Whomping Willow, and then we get into the next chapter, which is called Gilderoy Lockhart, where a couple things happen. So we go to herbology class.
Yeah, that was kind of a fun one.
Yeah,
that was probably my favorite class so far.
Do you remember what they were doing in herbology class?
They were pulling mandrakes out.
Yes.
And putting them in pot.
They were like repotting them.
Repotting mandrakes, which were basically screaming babies.
And what happens if you hear a mandrake and without earmuffs on?
Well, the baby ones won't kill you. They might knock you out for a little bit, but adult ones will just straight up kill you.
Nice. That's
How
important.
big are adult?
Remember that.
Okay.
How big are adults?
Yeah.
I don't know. Slightly bigger babies.
Bigger baby.
Slightly bigger babies. I remember when we were reading this, I was reading this out loud, and I said that she pulled a mandrake up and a baby came out. Becki just started cracking up. I don't think you expected a baby to come out of the plant.
I didn't. Although I looked at the little sketch in the chapter. I hadn't seen it ahead of time, but that's what it is. It's like a little plant baby. Yeah. But I didn't have any context for that because you were reading. And so it was just very unexpected.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Anyway, so they do the mandrake thing. We meet Professor Sprout. I think they go to like Transfiguration with McGonagall.
Yeah, Beetles buttons. Something happens.
Beetles buttons.
They got to turn beetles into buttons.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
The point is then they go to Defense Against the Dark Arts with the new professor, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, why do you think Snape didn't get the job if he wanted it?
I don't know.
Is it because he's kind of into the dark art, so he can't teach how to defend against it?
When I say I don't know, I do actually know, but I can't tell you yet. But it's good to speculate. Like, these are important questions.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe that's it.
But if he wants to teach it, yeah, I don't know. I'm still quite a bit confused about Snape.
Why?
Because in Harry's experience, he is, really hard on him, really picking on him, seems to hate him. Doesn't his scar hurt when he's near Snape? Or am I making that up? Maybe not.
I think his scar has hurt sometimes when he's near Snape, but not necessarily because of Snape.
Okay. However, I can't, at least in the first book, I don't really think that Snape has really done anything wrong. I don't really think he's actually been guilty of any of the things Harry has thought of him. Like when they thought he was making Harry's broom go crazy, but he wasn't. He was actually doing a counter spell. So Harry's experience is that he's scared of this guy and that this guy is bad news, but the facts are not there yet.
Snape is a really controversial character.
Uh-huh.
Some people really like Snape and some people really hate Snape.
Uh-huh.
And, I think you'll learn more about that and kind of get a better picture and come up with your own ideas as we go through the series. But even though he's not painted as a terrible guy, yes, he wasn't trying to kill Harry in the first book. He was trying to save him, apparently. He still does some bad things. He's not really nice to Harry.
No, he's not. But didn't he have a feud with Harry's dad?
Yeah, that's what Dumbledore tells us.
Yeah.
That there was something went on between Snape and Harry's dad. And so Snape bears this grudge towards Harry.
Yeah, kind of weird to take it out on a kid, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But and Snape is also painted as just kind of a grumpy, greasy guy who really favors his own house, which is Slytherin. So he really favors Malfoy, but he also really hates Harry, maybe because of the dad thing. And he also is super mean to other students too. He's really mean to Neville, who I don't know what your feelings on Neville are yet, because you really didn't like him in the first book. But you'll kind of feel that out as more as we go through, and then at the end when we get through all of it, I'll want to hear your thoughts on what you think about Snape. Okay. So Gilderoy Lockhart's class.
Yes.
He makes them do a quiz.
Yep.
Not about the Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Nope.
About himself.
Yes.
Okay. What is his favorite color?
Lilac.
Yes. Lilac.
Uh-huh.
That's the only one I remember. The other ones are he wants, what's his
ideal gift?
Yeah. And what is his secret passion, or what does he want in the world? He wants world peace or something. I don't know. Anyway, Hermione gets all of them right.
Right. So what do you think his ideal gift would be?
Oh, no. Does he say it?
Oh, yeah, you just said it. Never mind.
Did I say it?
Yeah.
What world peace?
Harmony between all magic and non-magic peoples. Yeah, and Hermione's got a little crush on him, which is cute.
And then he brings out pixies and sets them free and has no idea how to handle them. So he's kind of painted as this buffoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's someone who talks a big talk, but can't
he's like kind of a narcissist.
Walk. Yeah.
He thinks he's great.
Kind of a narcissist.
He thinks he's great, but he can't actually do anything. So he overcompensates by saying how great he is all the time.
There was a scene earlier where he was walking with Professor Sprout to the greenhouses before their class, and he was going, I was just showing Professor Sprout how to properly bandage a whomping willow because I've done it so many times.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing happens a lot.
Barf. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that was pretty much it. I think that was kind of the end of those 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the plot?
There's going to be a chamber. It's going to have some secrets in it.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're 6 chapters in and there's no lick of a plot at all.
No, I mean, I feel like Gilderoy is going to be a big part of this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And more Quidditch.
You think there's going to be some Quidditch?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know. I think, so this is kind of getting into prediction territory, but I think we know about Harry's past a bit. We know about Ron's past, and now we've seen his home and kind of seen his lifestyle and him with his family. But I think we're due to learn about Hermione's past and her upbringing.
Okay.
So that was kind of my prediction for the next chapter, which is Mud, Bloods, and Murmurs.
Okay.
But I know we're not there yet.
All right. So I think we're ready to move on to our...
Yeah, we should.
We're ready to move on to our prediction section. So let me explain the rules. Becki is about to make a prediction for chapters 7, 8, and 9 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And she does this with a couple of pieces of information. So I give her the titles of the chapters, the names of the chapters. I tell her the main characters that play a significant role in those 3 chapters. And then I tell her the main places that play a significant role within those chapters. Chapter 7 is called Mudbloods and Murmurs. Chapter 8 is called The Death Day Party. And chapter 9 is called The Writing on the Wall. Okay, the main characters in those sections are Harry, Ron, and Hermione, Professor Lockhart, Colin Creevey, who we actually met a little bit in this previous section, but we didn't talk about, Draco Malfoy, Professor McGonagall, a mysterious voice, Nearly Headless Nick, Mrs. Filch, which is, no, not Mrs. Filch, Mrs. Norris, which is Filch's cat, Peeves, Moaning Myrtle, Dumbledore, and Professor Binns. So that's a lot of characters. Mm-hmm. They each play a significant role in those chapters. So I promise you they're all pretty important.
Okie dokie.
Do you remember who Peeves is?
Poltergeist.
Yes. And what else? I think that's it.
Did I tell you I saw a book at the library, a kid's book called Poultrygeist, and it was about a ghost chicken or something. And once again, I would not have understood that reference.
It's funny to me how you didn't know what poltergeists were before the story.
I didn't know at all.
Whatever. Okay, the main places in these chapters are several Hogwarts classes. The Quidditch pitch, which is the first time that this has come up so far. Lockhart's office. The Death Day Party. The hallway on the first floor that is covered in water. And I needed to give some context with that because that's an important location, but it's kind of random. So I needed to tell you that. The History of Magic class and Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. So there's some weirdly specific locations,
Yeah.
some weirdly specific people.
Mhm.
But I'll just let you know that this is when like the plot actually takes off in the book, is within these next 3 chapters.
Well, okay then.
Are you ready for your predictions?
Yeah, why not?
Hit us with them.
Okay, Mudbloods and Murmurs. I feel like those kind of sound like band names or like a cool venue.
Mudbloods and Murmurs.
Yeah, like Murmurs is opening for Mudbloods. But I don't think that's what's going on here. Okay, so Mudbloods, I'm trying to remember, because I think we've talked about this term before. And isn't that what someone calls Hermione because she has Muggle parents? Didn't this come up before?
I don't think this word has ever come up.
Really? Okay.
Not previously. Maybe this is something that you heard about before you read the book.
Maybe.
Because there's like some
But
pieces of information
I thought
that
we
you know
talked
about.
it like
Or maybe
that
I
it was like
talked- yeah, maybe
super
we did.
derogatory. I was like, that sounds really derogatory.
Maybe we talked about it. I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I think it has to do with either being like of mixed blood or having Muggle parents. And once again, I just feel like it is very derogatory. And I don't particularly like it. Okay, so I think that we're going to get to learn a little bit more about Hermione's past. Like, we know about Harry's past and situation. We've seen where Ron grows up and we know about his family. So now we need Hermione's backstory. I feel like that's going to come into play. And I feel like maybe there's going to be like a rumor about Hermione and her parents or something. And that's what the murmuring is about.
Okay.
And she's going to get really upset. And Harry and Ron are going to have to defend her. And that's going to be nice because Harry's really good at sticking up for his friends. So that makes me really happy. All right, so we're going to have a Quidditch game again. Wasn't there talk in the last chapter about Malfoy, who didn't play Quidditch last year because first years are technically not allowed to play except for Harry, that he was going to get a broom so that he could play? He was talking to his dad about like wanting a certain kind.
I think in the first book, he was complaining to Harry that first years weren't allowed brooms.
Yes, but I think when they were in Nocturne Alley, I thought Harry overheard something
Maybe,
about
yeah,
it.
you might be right about that.
So I think maybe Malfoy is playing Quidditch now, so that's going to be a new head-to-head combat between Harry and Malfoy.
Okay.
Colin Creevey is here again. Yeah, we didn't really talk about him. He is kind of the first year who asks Harry for an autograph, right?
Right.
And then Malfoy makes a big deal about it. Like Harry's like selling pictures and like relates it to Gilderoy Lockhart, who's signing pictures, which is not really Harry's like jam. I don't really know what Colin's gonna do. Maybe just like follow Harry around and be annoying or something. So this Death Day party, I feel like this is gonna be a time when all the ghosts come out because there are several ghosts on this list. So instead of having a birthday party, maybe they have a big party in the Great Hall and it's for all the people who've died, like Nearly Headless Nick. Sorry, I'm laughing because of what happened in season 1 with Nearly Headless Nick and our little misunderstanding about him. You'll just have to go back and listen. Nearly Headless Nick and Peeves, who's a ghost of sorts. This mysterious voice might be involved.
You can't just skip over the mysterious voice.
I can't. Okay, the mysterious voice sings the Death Day song, not to be confused with the Happy Birthday song.
How does the Death Day song go? Happy Death Day song.
No, it's sad.
It's a Death Day song.
Yeah.
It's like is it a funeral, like dust in the wind?
I'm thinking like
Death Day song.
I'm thinking like a Carol of the Bells type.
Oh, Carol of the Bells.
Yeah. Like upbeat but creepy.
Okay. So you think this mysterious voice sings a Death Day song?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what voices do. They sing.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we got to get to this writing on the wall and this hallway covered in water. Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Okay, so there's a moaning
Sorry,
Myrtle.
there's so much random shit in this one.
There's a moaning Myrtle, and I'm not sure if it's a person or a tree. Maybe it's just because I'm thinking of the Whomping Willow. Now I'm thinking of this moaning
You
Myrtle.
think Moaning Myrtle's another tree?
Another sentient tree. I don't think it is. I think it's a person. I don't know why she has her own bathroom though. Nobody has their own bathroom. Or why is she moaning?
Yeah, this is tough.
Okay, I'm going to say the reason the hallway is covered in water is because her bathroom is overflowing. However, I don't know who this person is or why they have their own bathroom.
Okay. But you think that's why the hallway's covered in water?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe, I don't know, this kind of seems a little bit like the troll scene from book 1 where like something's gone wrong. We have to go check it out. And they go down into wherever it's dangerous, whatever this first floor covered in water is. And maybe they meet this moaning Myrtle person. Maybe it's a picture that's moaning, how the pictures talk and things.
Oh.
I'm not sure. This is kind of stumping me a little bit. I'm kind of out of ideas for what
Fair enough.
is.
This is strange and weird, like very specific things that I put in here. So it's just do your best.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So whatever this thing is going to be involved in this writing on the wall. Maybe they're moaning things and it's being written magically on the wall.
Interesting.
But I also feel like Mrs. Norris is going to come into play for the writing on the wall. Like right now we just think Mrs. Norris is a cat, right?
Yes.
I think she might be more than a cat.
Okay. Like how McGonagall can change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get a little intel into that. There's going to be some writing on the wall, and it's going to be mysterious, and it's going to be something that's going to then drive the plot forward. It's going to be a secret.
What do you think the secret is?
The whole secret of the whole book?
Yeah, what do you think the writing on the wall is?
I think it is that Gilderoy Lockhart is a sham.
Someone's going to write Gilderoy Lockhart as a sham on the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. Do you remember who Professor Binns is? Because he's in the first book.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Is he the organization professor?
Organization professor?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Professor Binns.
No.
He's not.
No, he's the history of magic professor.
Oh, okay.
And he's a ghost.
He's a ghost?
Yeah.
So he goes to the Death Day party too.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is tough. So I think it's going to get easier after this because this is like these 3 chapters kick off the plot. So it's going to get really good after this.
Mm-hmm.
But that was pretty good.
Sure.
But what I love about your predictions are how they're not necessarily accurate, but they pick up on a lot of themes and ideas that are accurate.
Okay.
So that's good. Thank you so much, Becki, for making those predictions. We hope that you guys join us next week when we will be exploring these 3 chapters after we have read them, and then Becki's going to make her predictions for the next 3 after that. We have a Twitter account. We have an Instagram. We post on there. Now that we're back, we're going to be posting more regularly. So if you want to stay in touch and on top of everything that's going on with us, follow us on Twitter at Muggles Guide. Follow us on Instagram at Muggles Guide Podcast. We also have a really cool new website. It's mugglesguide.com. All of our podcast episodes are up there. Anything new that we do is going to be posted on there. You can even sign up for a little newsletter that we'll send out when we have news to send out.
Yeah, and there's a really cool, like if you kind of wonder where we are, maybe you're not listening to the episodes week by week, but you wonder what chapters we're reading that week, there's kind of like a little tracker ticker that's like, we're reading these chapters this week, and then we have that next episode, right? Is that still on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You looked at
totally.
me like I was wrong. I was like, oh no.
Our dog is scratching incessantly at our door right now.
Yeah, it's peanut butter time.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We hope you're having a good time. We're having a good time doing this for you. And we will catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.